Respect is not given to the nicest person in the room. It is not given to the loudest person, the most emotional person, the most eager person, or the one who begs to be liked. Respect moves differently. It goes where strength is felt. It goes where boundaries exist. It goes where self-control is visible. It goes where people sense consequence. Most people spend years trying to be appreciated, accepted, included, admired, and they wonder why they are tolerated but not respected. Because approval and respect are distant relatives. One can be bought cheaply. The other must be earned through signals older than language. The room knows before the mind knows. People sense who can be ignored, who can be used, who can be delayed, who can be manipulated, who can be leaned on, who can be dismissed. And they also sense who carries weight. Not physical weight, psychological weight. The kind that changes behavior without asking. Machiavelli understood this long before modern language tried to soften it. Men judge with their eyes before they judge with reason. They respond to appearances, patterns, posture, certainty, restraint, and the subtle mathematics of power. If you want instant respect, you must stop chasing affection and start understanding human nature. Because people rarely respect what is always available. They rarely respect what apologizes for existing. They rarely respect what folds under pressure. They rarely respect what cannot leave. The first thing that creates respect instantly is emotional stillness. A person who cannot be easily moved becomes difficult to control. Watch what happens in any room when tension rises. Someone criticizes. Someone interrupts. Someone tests boundaries. Someone speaks sharply. Most people react immediately. They defend themselves, over-explain, become flustered, laugh nervously, raise their voice, seek allies, rush to fix perception. The calm person who does none of this becomes the center of gravity. Stillness under pressure is interpreted as power. Why? Because people assume composure comes from options. If you panic, they sense dependence. If you remain steady, they sense reserves. This is why some men speak softly and are obeyed, while others shout and are ignored. Noise is often compensation. Calm is often evidence. There is an old court story told in the spirit of Machiavelli. A young noble insulted an older advisor publicly, hoping to impress the room. Everyone waited for anger. Everyone expected retaliation. The advisor looked at him for a moment, smiled faintly, then returned to his conversation as if nothing of value had occurred. The room changed instantly. The noble had thrown a spear. The advisor had made it look weightless. Days later, the young noble found doors closing quietly. Invitations slowed. Support weakened. He had won a moment and lost position. That is respect. Not loud reaction. Invisible gravity. If you want people to respect you instantly, learn this. Not every challenge deserves visible effort. The second thing that commands respect instantly is clear boundaries. People test unconsciously. They interrupt to see if you allow it. They delay to see if your time is cheap. They joke disrespectfully to see if access is unlimited. They ask for too much to see whether guilt controls you. Most of these tests are subtle, even unconscious. Human beings search for hierarchy the way water searches for openings. If you have no boundaries, they will keep flowing through you. The person who says no cleanly, without drama, without apology, without explanation overload, immediately becomes different in the eyes of others, because boundaries signal self-value, and self-value is contagious. People treat you partly according to how firmly you treat yourself. When you tolerate everything, you teach them your price is low. When you protect your standards calmly, you raise the cost of mishandling you. This does not require aggression. Weak people confuse boundaries with hostility. Strong people know boundaries are architecture. A door is not rude because it closes. It simply knows its function. The third force behind instant respect is scarcity. Anything too available is unconsciously devalued. This includes people. The person always present, always replying instantly, always free, always agreeing, always waiting, always explaining, always chasing becomes familiar in the cheapest sense. Predictable access lowers perceived value. Meanwhile, the person whose time is structured, whose presence is selective, whose attention is not easily captured, creates friction, and friction creates value. Machiavelli knew rulers maintain status partly through controlled access. If everyone could reach the throne casually, the throne would become furniture. You do not need to become distant or arrogant. You need rhythm. You need priorities that do not bend for every voice. You need a life that proves your time belongs somewhere before it belongs to them. People respect what has weight elsewhere. The fourth element is decisiveness. Indecision leaks weakness. The person who cannot choose, cannot commit, cannot answer clearly, cannot state preference, cannot take position, tells the room something dangerous. My internal authority is unstable. People feel this immediately. They may smile. They may be polite. But trust and respect decrease. Certainty, even quiet certainty, changes perception. This does not mean pretending to know everything. It means being able to say, no, yes, I disagree. That does not work for me. I'll decide later. I was wrong. Here is the plan. Person who can land on ground is more respected than one floating in endless hesitation. Why? Because decisions create direction, and direction attracts confidence from others. Even mistakes are often more respected than chronic drift. The fifth principle is non-neediness. Neediness has many disguises. Approval seeking, over-explaining, laughing too hard to be accepted, talking too much to prove worth, trying to impress strangers, fear of silence, fear of disagreement, fear of being disliked. Neediness tells others your emotional state is outsourced, and what is outsourced cannot be respected deeply. People may pity it, use it, manage it, but rarely respect it. The person who does not need every room to love them becomes powerful in every room. Because they can act cleanly, they can disagree, they can walk away, they can remain silent, they can wait, they can lose one opportunity without collapsing. Freedom from immediate approval is visible, and visible freedom becomes status. The sixth factor is competence. Many try to gain respect through image alone. Style, talk, attitude, mystique. But sustained respect eventually demands evidence. Can you solve problems? Can you stay effective under pressure? Can you make decisions? Can you create results? Can you protect others? Can you lead yourself? Competence has a smell people recognize. Even insecure people sense it. This is why a quiet expert can outrank a charismatic fool over time. The fool may capture attention first. The competent person captures reliance later, and reliance is stronger than applause. Machiavelli repeatedly favored capability over appearance, while also understanding that appearance opens doors. The wise combine both. Look composed, be useful. That combination is dangerous. The seventh principle is controlled speech. Talking too much lowers mystery and often lowers value. When you reveal every thought instantly, people map you quickly. When you explain yourself constantly, people sense insecurity. When you fill silence compulsively, they sense discomfort. The person who speaks with precision appears stronger than the person who speaks endlessly, because restraint suggests thought. Words used sparingly feel expensive. Words spilled carelessly feel cheap. Notice who rooms naturally listen to. Often it is not the most talkative. It is the one who seems able to remain silent indefinitely. Silence changes hierarchy because many people cannot tolerate it. They rush to fill it, revealing nerves, motives, weakness, and dependence. The person comfortable in silence appears internally anchored. That alone earns respect. The eighth factor is posture and pace. The body speaks before the mouth. Rushed movements, fidgeting, shrunken shoulders, restless eyes, nervous laughter. These signals trigger instinctive readings of uncertainty. Slow, controlled movement, stable posture, grounded stance, deliberate gestures, steady eye contact without staring. These create immediate impressions of control. You need not become theatrical. Artificial dominance looks absurd, but remove frantic energy and much changes. Predators in nature rarely move anxiously. Neither do leaders. People trust what looks stable. The ninth principle is selective tolerance. If you tolerate everything, you train contempt. If you react to everything, you look fragile. Respect lives between those extremes. Know what matters. Ignore small irritations. Address meaningful disrespect. Let minor noise pass. Respond to real patterns. This balance is rare. Many are too passive until they explode. Others are too reactive from the start. Both lose status. The respected person seems to know instinctively what deserves attention and what deserves dismissal. That discernment feels powerful because it is. Attention is currency. Where you place it reveals rank. Do not spend gold on pebbles. The 10th principle is self-respect visible in choices. Who you allow near you, what you accept, what you pursue, what you refuse, how you spend time, how you recover from mistakes, how you speak about yourself, how you handle loneliness. These choices broadcast internal standards. If you remain around betrayal, people notice. If you chase those who dismiss you, people notice. If you tolerate mockery for inclusion, people notice. If you abandon principles under pressure, people notice. And if you quietly leave what dishonors you, they notice that too. Self-respect is rarely announced. It is inferred. Machiavelli would remind you that people believe what they see repeated, not what they hear declared. Say, I value myself all day and accept scraps. No one believes you. Say nothing and move like a person with standards. Everyone understands. Now there is a darker truth many avoid. Some people only respect force, not physical violence necessarily, but consequence. If they can waste your time without loss, they will. If they can disrespect you without response, they may continue. If they can manipulate you without cost, they learn quickly. This is why kindness without boundaries becomes bait. You must be capable of removing access, withdrawing effort, saying no, leaving, redirecting, escalating appropriately, or becoming unavailable. Consequence teaches faster than speeches. A child learns the stove by heat. Adults often learn limits the same way. The ability to create consequence calmly creates immediate respect. The threat need not be spoken. It need only be believable. This is where many fail. They try to appear dangerous while being deeply dependent. The room senses bluff. Real leverage is quiet. You do not announce exits when you can actually walk. You do not threaten distance when your life is full enough to create it naturally. You do not brag about standards when you enforce them effortlessly. Strength that must advertise itself is usually rented. Strength that is owned rarely introduces itself. There is another mistake people make. They want everyone to respect them. Impossible. Some resent what they cannot access. Some dislike boundaries because boundaries block exploitation. Some interpret calm as arrogance. Some hate competence because it exposes them. Some despise independence because they cannot control it. Your goal is not universal admiration. Your goal is consistent weight. Even enemies can respect you. Many do. Sometimes more than false friends. Because enemies study what others ignore. There is a useful Machiavellian lesson here. Better to be quietly respected by serious people than loudly liked by unserious ones. One protects your future. The other entertains your ego. Consider how often people lose respect accidentally. They apologize too much. They reveal desperation. They gossip. They complain constantly. They break promises casually. They say yes resentfully. They seek validation publicly. They chase people who already withdrew. They speak big and act small. They cannot control mood. They need to win every minor argument. Each act may seem small, but respect is often lost in droplets, not floods. Likewise, it is gained in repeated signals. Consistency, calm, competence, limits, integrity, presence, detachment from cheap approval. These stack quietly until rooms feel it. You may ask, can respect really happen instantly? Yes, not full earned long-term respect, but immediate instinctive respect. Humans make rapid judgments constantly. The first minutes tell them whether you are soft ground or structured stone. They scan for uncertainty, hunger, looseness, need, or for steadiness, proportion, and consequence. You are always communicating, even when silent, especially when silent. There is a story of a merchant who entered negotiations, known for being young and inexperienced. Older men expected to dominate him. They spoke over him, laughed lightly, delayed the start. He did not rush to correct them. He listened. He let them talk themselves into confidence. Then he declined the first 3 offers without emotional movement, asked 2 precise questions no one expected, stood to leave when terms became disrespectful, and thanked them for their time. They called him back before he reached the door. Nothing mystical happened. He simply showed he was not trapped. People respect what can leave. Neediness destroys leverage because it chains you to outcomes.
If you need the job desperately,
The date desperately, the deal desperately, the friendship desperately, the room feels it. Need creates odor. The answer is not pretending not to care. The answer is building a life where one outcome cannot define you. Then detachment becomes real, and real detachment is magnetic. Now understand the final principle. Respect begins inside before it appears outside. If internally you believe you are lower, lesser, lucky to be tolerated, afraid to offend, grateful for crumbs, your behavior leaks it. No tactic can permanently hide self-concept. Eventually your posture, choices, tone, relationships, and reactions confess what you believe about yourself. So build internally. Keep promises to yourself. Do hard things privately. Learn skills no one applauds. Become reliable to your own word. Walk away when necessary. Repair mistakes without self-hatred. Spend time alone without panic. This creates internal authority. And internal authority radiates externally without effort. People often ask how to make others respect them instantly. The deeper answer is simpler and harder. Become the kind of person disrespect feels expensive around. Not because you threaten, because your standards, competence, calm, and willingness to leave make cheap behavior unprofitable. Then respect arrives not as a gift, but as adaptation. Remember this carefully. People may admire beauty. They may enjoy charm. They may chase status. But when life becomes serious, they look for steadiness. They look for someone who does not shake easily. Someone who cannot be bought cheaply. Someone who can say no. Someone who can act under pressure. Someone whose presence changes behavior. Become that. And many who never intended to respect you will do so instinctively. Because in the end, respect is not won by asking for it. It is triggered by what you become when no one is watching. In the end, people do not respect you because you ask them to. They respect you because something in your presence makes disrespect costly and dignity natural. Your calm in pressure, your discipline in private, your standards in public, and your willingness to walk away speak louder than any demand ever could. Most people chase attention and mistake it for value, but attention is cheap. Respect is earned through consistency, restraint, competence, and self-control. It comes when others realize you are not easily moved, not easily used, and not easily replaced. So stop trying to convince people to value you. Build a life, a mind, and a presence that makes value obvious. Because the strongest form of respect is never requested. It is silently given.